Hello! Today I have for you the Midwinter Gala. This is a new standalone / epic multiplayer scenario pack from Arkham Horror the Living Card Game. It only requires the Midwinter Gala expansion and the core box to play, but as with most Arkham things, definitely recommend having more expansions to play with it, make your time easier. For those of you who haven't played the Pale Lantern scenario from the Arkham Horror 3rd edition under Dark Waves expansion, we have this mission. Notice the art. It's very similar, and it has the same characters. From what I've seen in the rules and the Mythos cards, this is definitely a retelling of the Pale Lantern scenario, and it's a little bit more focused to what's going on inside the house versus the whole city. And it does take place in Kingsport, which is kind of a neat thing since we don't really see that in the card game. We still haven't seen it yet. There are some references. Kind of gives me the weird feeling that designers are running out of ideas, but also there's a trend they're doing. This expansion also, this scenario pack also adds a new scoring mechanic. You can see we have tasks for endgame scoring. Slight spoilers, but these scores are tied to certain objectives that it's also used in the epic multiplayer. But this is one of the few scenarios where you can actually gain XP back. I like the idea of the scoring system, but it feels odd. It makes winning teams easier to decide in epic multiplayer, and it does break ties having a standard scoring system. I have only played the Blob, who ate everything in Epic, and it was just everyone wins or loses. There's really no prizes. You just kind of get your entry kit. I'm not really sure I like this. I don't know what they plan on doing for the Invocation for 2024 or Arkham Knights 2024. That's kind of the reason I have this mat down here. It used to be they'd give you full sets for everyone to get one of every prize. And then in the 2020 Invocation, they only gave you this one mat, which apparently is highly prized. Not by me, but some people really want this mat. The quality of this mat is nowhere as good as the prior Invocations. Like we have this 2018 Invocation, which I have multiple copies of this mat. I think I have 2 or 3 copies. I give them away when I see people at multiplayer events. And this 2017 Invocation. I'm not exactly sure why they dropped the quality on the mats. They feel the same, look the same, but something about it seems off. I don't know if it's because the border's a little weird, or it's just the art. Also, as a side note, I am still doing the 2024 giveaway, and I am giving away these mats. No need to subscribe, but if you leave a comment in the video, and I hit those milestone subscriber numbers, you might be able to win one of these mats. Bringing Kingsport into LCG gives me hope that it will be a location in future expansions, like the Drowned City, but the Drowned City also kind of gives me the vibes of another Arkham Horror 3rd edition mission, Shots in the Dark. What is the Midwinter Gala? Like all good stories, we'll start at the beginning. And this is going to be heavily paraphrased. The Lantern Club has invited us to their rich cult party at a strange high house in Kingsport, with an Eyed Wide Shut theme. Your mission is to have a few drinks, make friends, have a few laughs, and steal the main attraction called the Jewel of Sarnath. Honestly, it sounds like a monkey paw, but wouldn't be Arkham otherwise. And this part feels optional, but it's probably really the main goal, is to also thwart the Lantern Club's scheme, and I guess protect rich people at the party. And don't forget the points, because it's Hogwarts now. Also, Michael Myers is going to be chasing you around town, or chasing you down with a lamp. The players will have an option of becoming allied to one of the 5 factions who want the jewel. Once you pick one of the factions to have an allegiance to, the other 4, one of them at random, or you can pick, will become the rival faction. In epic multiplayer, though, you can have, I guess, a max of 5 teams, but each team can only have 1 allegiance, and then they will be the rivals of other teams. The choices we have are the Foundation, who are basically the Guardian faction, And if you remember, they were in the Scarlet Keys. We have the Miskatonic University, pretty self-explanatory for them being with the Seekers. The Syndicate, who are attached to the Rogues. Silver Twilight Lodge, the great mythical cult for the Mystics. And the Locals of Kingsport, which are the Survivor faction. After picking your faction, you can do the setup. And then you just follow the setup from that point on and have fun or die trying. It is Arkham after all. We have the game modes. It's not shown up too well. We have a new effect with the guest story assets, spellbound, scoring. Story cards are pretty much the same. If you want to play this as a side story campaign mode, it's going to cost you 2 experience, and you can always do it in standalone. The epic multiplayer rules are actually on page 20, and it's not really epic multiplayer. They don't call it that. They just call the optional variant best guess. But here's all the rules that explain how that works. We do have this return of keywords of alert and patrol. And here's the starting of the Midnight Gala. Gives you the intro. Tells you who you want to join. Some story work. And then setup. All the setup rules. You're going to start with 4 out of the 8 locations in play. And then it's going to trigger an interlude. And the rest is don't read. That's pretty much it for not going really heavy into the spoilers of the cards. If you don't want to spoil the future stuff, I definitely recommend that you can stop the video. But if you don't care about the spoilers, we'll proceed in about 10 seconds. Alright, spoilers, you have been warned. Here are the 5 factions. Each faction is going to come with an allied side card and a rival side. They will come with a leader, and then 3 other allies that can be won and join you for future campaigns if you succeed the scenario. And then they will get a weakness that gets added to the Mythos deck that is basically the antithesis of a certain card. The allies, or guardians, are the only ones that actually have a enemy weakness. We have the rookie cop, who is honestly the opposite of beat cop. When you don't pick the allies, you'll get the reveal side, and what it's going to tell you is its setup, and it's going to make you do some weird dog and pony tricks of going through hoops and rubbing your belly and patting your head to get rid of them. Also, for side notes, all the leaders will eventually become enemies if they're your rival. They're all aloof. They pretty much all hunt. They cannot be damaged. And they're worth no victory. Again, to get rid of them, you're going to have to complete these convoluted little quests on the back. You'll also put each one of these allies into 3 starting locations. Well, 3 out of the 5 starting locations, but they're all the same location. First up, we have the Foundation. We have their allied card. And their rival side. These leaders all have skill icons and their permanents. They can never be gained as rewards for completing the scenario, and they'll never go into your deck. It seems odd that they have skill icons. That's because it's associated to a certain treachery that triggers off whatever icons are on the guests. On their backside is the rival side. On the backside, all the leaders cannot be damaged. You have to do some dog and pony show nonsense as the rival side. Like this one's going to ask you to do a bunch of parlay fist tests on her and put a bunch of clues to get rid of them. And this is a constant same effect throughout the whole scenario. You're also going to get your weird, I guess, opposite weakness. It's nice that Beat Cop here has been turned against us. The Guardians had the only enemy weakness. They all have Surge, which I don't like Surge. And his force effect is pretty annoying. The leader of the Foundation here is No Russian, who likes punching and makes you better with the crowd. The other side gives you social anxiety. -1 to each of your skills if you control an exhausted guest. Don't really like that. Especially since this scenario is based on having a lot of guests. The other thing about all the leaders, when they go the victorious way, they're all 0. And if you succeed this scenario, you'll be able to recruit these guys, 1 per investigator. I kind of have an issue with how this recruiting mechanic works, because these guys are specifically focused to the strengths of their class. Doesn't seem they're not unusable by other classes, but through their abilities, you'll see what I mean. Side note, if you have 4 players, 1 person isn't going to get someone to add. And the other thing is, are they worth taking some of the allies that are key mechanics to your deck design? First up, we have Game Over Man. He is pretty much better built in on the hunt as a fast action mechanic, and can keep himself or other allies alive. This guy's pretty strong. He's good for Guardians. Next, we have Dirty Harry. Makes fighting easier, does some free damage if an ally or weapon is used. He feels very weak compared to Cousin Hudson, and his sanity being 1 feels hard to keep alive, but free damage is good. Last for the Foundation, we have Horatio Sands. He's a meat shield for the group, and a free exhaust on non-elite enemies after they attack you. Not sure why. I don't remember any non-elite enemies that don't exhaust after attacking you, but let me know in the comments. And they will not ready on their next turn. I honestly think he's the worst out of the 3 picks, because he feels pretty situational. He costs more. The 1 sanity, not super helpful. They do fit the Guardian class really well, because it's doing what the Guardians want to do best. Take damage, save others, beat the punching bag, and enemy management. The Rookie Cop is also probably the least annoying out of all the treacheries that will get added to the Mythos deck. Next up, we have the Miskatonic University, otherwise known as the Nerds. We have a stereotypical bald glasses businessman, and he makes reading easier, rewards you with extra card draw if you're being clue efficient. His bad side isn't terrible. It makes you discard cards, or discard a card, a non-weakness card. He makes you discard a non-weakness card. And their treachery makes you waste time. Basically makes you dump clues and take horror damage. Ally requirements. Rival nonsense. Crossing Jordan here, the medical examiner. Makes your hand bigger and makes it easier to read if you don't blow all your cards. We have Monopoly Man here. Gives you rewards for finding things in your deck. Kind of like a cursed book or tool. Really strong with Mandy and matches with Monopoly Man. Gives you rewards for finding things in your deck after you're basically getting clues. He is really strong in Mandy. Him and Mr. Rook would just be disgusting. And then we have the weirdest out of all the characters. First off, she doesn't have glasses. Everyone else has glasses. The last character for the Miskatonic University is really weird. She doesn't really fit the theme. First, the oddest thing I noticed was she's not wearing glasses. And then she's also zozzled, which I'm not sure if that means she's drunk. Her ability is when you draw a card, she makes an investigator location move to a connecting location. And I don't know if she's a joke or she's the annoying drunk, but she can move you or another person. Doesn't quite fit all the other weird clue deck mechanic manipulation that the other characters do. Honestly, all of these characters feel very situational except for the drunk. She at least can be used by anyone with her ability. And the weakness, it's really just a waste of one action for a cleaver, but it will hinder non-dedicated cleavers. Our third faction, the Syndicate. We have their allied side and their rival side. They're led by Johnny Mnemonic here. Makes you better at running away, and it gives you stuff if you get money through card effects. Definitely following the rogue ramping system. The bad side, he's going to break your legs for some cash. Well, actually, he's just going to shake you down. He doesn't really hurt you that badly. This treachery, Cold Streak, makes you broke. And if you don't pay it, they're going to beat it out of you, and they might cause some brain damage at the same time. Pretty standard, but can be really bad for cash-strapped investigator types, especially Guardians. His gang consists of Miranda holding a gun like an idiot. She pollutes the environment. She throws antiquities everywhere, giving you like captive pollution powers, and then rewards you with recycling deposits if you're an overachiever and picking them up. French Zorro over here, it's another Captain Planet villain. Throws garbage everywhere once per game. And if the enemies are too sleepy to do anything about it, you can pick up the garbage and get some good karma. Last, we have Sophia Falcone. She hits hard as long as you have money. And then as a perk, she'll steal money from the thing she kills. She is ridiculously strong. The Syndicate is really interesting. Keeper or Renard have that synergy with the antiquity tokens that you put into play using their abilities. They synergize because they don't care who placed the tokens, which is a neat effect. It's the first that I've seen that does this ability. Makes some really neat combos if you put them in, if you can especially get those two together in play. But out of all of it, Nova is my favorite here. She hits hard, deals +1 damage, and makes money for doing her job. Here we have the Silver Twilight Lodge. Totally not an evil cult. They are led by creepy Stephen Lang here. He makes you smarter, and if you cancel non-weakness treacheries, you get to draw a card. Evil version makes you dumb. Their treachery here, War of Preservation, is really annoying. I kind of feel like it's the worst, but I'll get to that later. We have the Scarlet Witch here with the Infinity Stone. She has a limited supply of these magic smoking rocks. She gets high and lets you see the future. You can discard up to 2 non-elite cards from the Mythos deck and mess up someone else's turn. Special guest Halle Berry from John Wick 3 makes a cameo in this set. Give her pups some Scooby snacks, and then give some positive vibes, and sit back and watch them work. I really like her ability. Last, we have Everybody Loves Raymond. He's probably the strongest out of the bunch. His ideal of truth is canceling card revelation effects and discarding it while you're dealing with cognitive dissonance. I really like it. You can do it up to 4 times, too. I hate to admit it, even though I've been playing Mystics a lot lately, but the Silver Twilight Lodge feels very strong in this scenario. They feel very strong for any Mystic composition team, really. And I'd love to have any of them. Threat canceling, always good. And it can be very game-breaking. Shaw here with the dogs. I just like doing extra damage, and I like dogs. But the ability to mess with the Mythos decks is definitely game-breaking. Ward of Preservation can be rough, depending on if you need to play an event. It sits in play, which is kind of annoying, until an event is played. So you're going to have to sacrifice an event. The Midnight Gala has a lot of non-cancelable Mythos cards, but not discardable. So this ability is really cool. And I don't know how much value you're going to get out of it. Sanford has his old weird thing, and it feels like you got to have Diana Stanley on your team if you really want to get the best out of this for the Midwinter Gala. As for normal play, these guys would be great, but again, Diana Stanley probably synergized. Granted, she is also part of Silverware Twilight Lodge and Occultist, so makes sense. Next up, we have the Lords of Salem, otherwise known as the Locals of Kingsport. We have the Allied side and the rival side. And we have Bane. Their leader gives you +1 to all skills when committing at least one card to a skill test. All your skills. And he forces people to come out of the guest deck that's part of Midwinter Gala. Really helpful. Seems like he's going to be the guy that gets you through it. It's probably the preferred faction they want you to play with. His health and sanity is also ridiculous. He's a 4/4. He's basically the same health and sanity as Red Glove Man and a whole backup agency. That's pretty strong. His bad side also is really annoying. He doesn't let you commit commit cards to skill tests. Like, that's just rough. And this, I thought Ward of Perseverance was the worst of all the treacheries that get added. But unlucky here. I do not like this card. It is harsh. It gives you -2 to each of your skills until the end of the round. Pretty much waste your whole turn. And if you don't get rid of this by completing the side quest here, this is going to screw up badly on any investigator. It's not good. For the Locals of Kingsport's guests, we have Jean Grey here with an old fashioned. She makes investigating and parlaying easier for being the life of the party and is immune to attacks of opportunity by Chads. Very strong for this scenario. Next we have Mr. Rogers, the Gambling Man. Name a trait, discard top card of the encounter deck, and get paid if the trait's on the card. But it gets rid of an encounter, so that's pretty good. Doesn't care if it's an enemy too, so that's pretty neat. His other ability is the reaction or the fast action. Discard top card of your deck and add those icons to your test if possible. All around situational, he's pretty good. Last we have the Miss I'm Too Good to Be Here. She's a lame grizzly totem. I actually don't like her at all. And staying with the survivor motif, they're all cheap. The Locals of Kingsport are good for the Midwinter Gala. Bane is all around good and helpful, especially with the action efficiency of getting guests out of the guest deck. Galding is very efficient with the parlaying that you want to do in this scenario. Only is a mixed bag, but he is pretty flexible with everyone. And Wilson, I don't like her. The fact that Grizzly Totem does what she does, except I think better. All of them can be used with any investigator or be helpful. She's more scenario specific, but I still think she's a good deal. Unlucky is rough. I just don't like the card. I am pretty sure it's the worst out of all the treacheries that can be added by having the Locals of Kingsport your rivals. Here is our main treachery deck. It's going to be 23 cards. Seems pretty small. And most of these treacheries are a variant of mechanics and some cards. An example would be this Secret Door. It functions a lot like Locked Door, and they just constantly repeat and mix and match ideas. Some of the stuff's really cool because it's thematic and it fits, and the art's good. Like, I love this art. But a lot of it feels recycled. Not sure how I feel about that. Feels lazy. We have our scenario difficulty card, hard and expert, and easy and standard. Doesn't seem to make it that much harder. It does lift off some of the safety stuff, like doing way more damage. These will be the starting cards in play for setup. 5 of the 8 locations will be starting in play. These other 3 second floor locations will be put to the side, along with these 2 specific treacheries of Vicious Ambush, 2 Gugs, 2 Moon Beasts, and a Shatanic. We'll also be dealing with Michael Myers here and his lamp. And here is the Monkey Paw Jewel and Declan Pierce. I do not like this guy. It is going to be 3 agendas. 4 Doom, 6 Doom, 6 Doom. You cannot remove Doom from these agendas. I feel like it's very strict on time. So you basically have 15 turns, 14 turns if you put out the Monkey's Paw, and it's probably going to show up real quick because your goal is to find it. Clue-wise, 3 to 12 clues depending on your play group size, and you have 2 acts. The Monkey's Paw is a reward if you pass the scenario properly. I feel like it's a trap. It has the ability to do extra free damage as a fast effect. It's still a test, though. It's still a will and foot test, which feels a little weird, and it's a simple test. It's 1. And putting free damage is great as a fast action. The other thing about it is it comes into play with 1 Doom on it. And I get that's to balance it as to canceling out a treachery. But that's why it feels like a trap. Anything that adds Doom, not great. Declan Pierce, I don't like his abilities. While Declan Pierce is engaged with you, you get 1 fewer actions during your turn. It's pretty harsh, and depending on your play group, he's not easy to one-shot. Because he does get +2 health per investigator. The forced effect, which is what I really don't like about him, is at the end of the enemy phase, if Declan Pierce is ready, heal 1 damage from each enemy in play. Not at a location, in play. Luckily, he's not double-sided, and once you deal with him, he should be gone. Michael Myers here, the Bloodless Man, he's going to start out play in the basement with his fun lamp. This is very thematic and fits with the Pale Lantern scenario from 3rd edition. You're pretty much doing the same thing. You want to get the lamp away from him. And then once you do the required yada 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 stuff and steal said lamp, you can try to smash it. Once it's smashed, you don't have to worry about it. But this guy does mutate into a monstrous blob of nonsense. All right, so the fun returning stuff. The Gugs, haven't seen them since Dream Eaters or the Rougarou. That's the first time they were encountered. And they are actually not part of the 3rd edition scenario. Not exactly sure why they added them, but it's a welcome thing, because nostalgia? The Moon Beast, haven't seen them since, again, Dream Eaters. And there's going to be 2 copies of each. These are part of the Pale Lantern scenario, and I believe there's 3 different variants of them. And the last is the Shantak. I completely forgot this thing exists. I know it's part of the scenario, and there's 2 of them for Arkham Horror 3rd edition, but the last and only time I saw him before now was in another standalone scenario pack, Guardians of the Abyss. One of the most difficult standalones that just is very punishing, but gives really cool rewards. It's also 2 parts. This campaign scenario pack is only 1. Doesn't seem super terrible, doesn't seem super long. I've read a few things on Reddit where people have said it's kind of meh, and some are take it or leave it, and honestly, that's how most of the scenario packs work. The only good one that I believe is Excelsior. Excelsior gives you a janky weapon that also does the same mechanic as a few of the treachery cards in this set. But it gives you a lot of experience, and that's what I like about it. There's also a lot of shared mechanics. Overall, The Midwinter Gala looks like the Pale Lantern scenario, and I feel it's different enough to be its own thing, so don't take it as a turnoff. I do bring this up again because of how things have been going with some of the Arkham stuff. I recently purchased the Arkham Horror RPG playset, and it's basically telling you to do Night of the Zealot in your own way, but it's a retelling. This Pale Lantern scenario definitely existed before Midwinter Gala, and again, it's a retelling. Last but not least, the way the Drowned City's looking with the O'Bannons fighting the other gang, the O'Bannon, and Sheldon gangs are fighting each other. They said that that was going to be one of the things they were going to do. It's neat that it's going to be in Arkham. Supposedly it's going to have Cthulhu, which I don't remember Cthulhu in this, but could be. But it does feel kind of suspicious, and it's giving the vibe that they might be running out of ideas, and they're recycling content from other stuff. Or we probably might see some stuff from Elder Sign, Eldritch Horror, some Arkham 2nd Edition stuff, or Final Hour, God forbid. It seems kind of like it's a trend, and I'm a little worried. I have a feeling they're going to be branding ideas from the other Arkham File games. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you for watching the video. Again, the 2024 giveaway. You might win some mats or other Arkham stuff I have in there. Check it out. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Other than that, take care and GG's.